Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you're joining us today in today's live lecture coming to you from Nkolo Mahadum Wisdom University. Today's date is Nkwo Market Day in the Igbo lunar calendar and 11/16/2025 in the Roman Catholic calendar. Remember, the reason we are giving you both days is for you to know that we Africans have our own calendar before the arrival of the colonial masters in our land. And at Nkolo Mahadum Wisdom University, remember, we are an university. We are an university. We are not a gossiping center. Therefore, we package our lectures and encourage you to use your literally giving common sense, which we call Akonuche in Igbo language. And because we want you to know that every culture protects their own. That is why we package our lectures and present them to you from an Igbo man, from Biafra, and African perspectives. Because you see things from how it concerns you, not how it concerns other cultures. You don't see things from how an American or a UK person or person from Germany or anywhere else, Saudi Arabia, see things. You see things from how it concerns you. It is very, very important. And therefore, we want you to join us. We are live on YouTube, we are live on Facebook, we are live on TikTok and Twitter. And like, comment, and share. Share this lecture to give to your friends and family. Also, go back to our previous lectures, and you'll be glad that you did. The title of today's lecture is Nigeria bans local languages in schools. Nigeria banned indigenous languages in schools, and also the altercation, the confrontation between Nyesom Wike and Ahmad Yarima in Abuja. These are the two lectures we are presenting in one today. So today's lecture is 2 in 1. We have to address the ban by Nigeria, the ban of local languages, the ban of indigenous languages in Nigerian schools by Nigerian government, and then the confrontation between Wike and Ahmed Yarima in Abuja. Matters arising from those two issues. Now let's start with the ban, Nigerian ban on local languages in schools. The matters arising from there. The ban on local languages was announced on Wednesday, 11/12/2025. According to Sahara reporters, the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, announced the ban on Wednesday during the Language in Education International Conference 2025, organized by the British Council in Abuja. This ban on education by Nigeria, the ban on local education, the ban on indigenous languages, the languages to be teaching our children in Nigeria, according to Sahara reporters, was announced by the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, on Wednesday during the Language in Education International Conference 2025, organized by the British Council in Abuja. Here and then, the Nigerian government suspended the use of indigenous languages as the medium of teaching in Nigerian schools, directing teachers nationwide to prioritize English as a medium of instruction. What it means is that henceforth, that from now on, in Nigerian schools, that no more use of indigenous language like Igbo, like Isekiri, like Yoruba, like Urobo, like Ejo, like Efik, like TV language, like Hausa language, every other language should be banned in the schools and put English as number one. That is what they said. From now on, that English should be the first language to educate our children. That is why this ban got to our attention. And we called Ahmad Wisdom University, and we decided to use it to explain to you what it means to you and the mistakes that the Nigerian government is making. And the matters arising from this ban is that it shows that Nigeria is still under British colonial bondage. This ban is not only annoying, it is mostly annoying in that it was it was it was in the conference that was organized by the British Council. The British Council is the one that organized this conference where the ban of local indigenous languages was implemented or effected. That is the most worrisome. We know that even if it was done under any other disguise, if it was done under any other place, it is still going to happen. But it's annoying that the British came out openly to say that they are the one that is making sure that local languages will no longer be used to teach in our schools. Very, very, very annoying. And we want to let Nigeria know that Nigeria cannot develop with foreign English language. English language is foreign in our land. It is a foreign language, and therefore it's not better than Igbo language. It's not better than Hausa language, Yoruba language, Isakiri language, Isoko language, Ejo language, TV language, and other languages that we have in Nigeria. It's not better. Why should we put a foreign language above our own language? It is annoying. And this ban will lead to suppression of indigenous people's freedom to use and exercise their languages, which is their culture, to educate our people. How can we be prevented from using our own language, which is our way of life, which is our culture, from educating our children? And therefore, it will also suppress indigenous people's identities. You know that Nigeria is for indigenous people. It's just that Nigeria is made of different indigenous ethnic nationalities. And therefore, it will lead to suppression of indigenous people's identities because your language is your identity. Why should your language be stopped from being used to educate you in our schools? And imposition of foreign English will lead to the death of many indigenous languages. When your language is not being used, when it is not being promoted, when it is not being energized, when it is not being revived, that language will just die. Why should Nigerian government be doing this to the indigenous people that own the land? Why? And we want to remind the world that even Russia started the special military operation in the eastern Donbass region because of the suppression of Russian languages by the Ukraine government in those areas. You don't suppress your own language, your culture, your way of life. Why should you suppress it? It is wrong. And in addition, haven't you had President Putin speaking? He speaks in Russian language. How about Sergei Lavrov, the foreign minister? You hear them speaking in Russian language. How about Xi Jinping, the Chinese leader? You hear him speaking in Chinese. Even Narendra Modi of India speaks in India, in Indian language. How about Kim Jong Un of North Korea? He also speaks in their own language, native language. Most Arab leaders speaks Arabic language. Nobody speaks English. And the question we have is, why is it that in this 21st century that the British government, the British Council, is the one that initiated this process to have the Nigerian government ban the indigenous languages as a means of teaching our children? Why is this so? And we have a question. Will this also work in northern Nigeria? Will it work in northern Nigeria where you now have Sharia law and Arabic education? You know that somebody can use Arabic education and become whatever he wants to be. Will it also be applicable in the north, banning Arabic education, which means you also ban Arabic education and Sharia practice? Is that what it means? That's what the Nigerian government need to explain to the indigenous populations. Because somebody can be educated in Arabic education and will still be comfortable in the Sharia north. So will it be how will it be applicable? This is mostly annoying. And so what we are suggesting to the Nigerian leaders, the Nigerian government, is to stop this immediately. Stop it. Make the indigenous languages the language of teaching, the language of instruction, the language of education of our people as compulsory. The best approach is to make the indigenous languages compulsory in all schools, and then use English as selective, as elective, as optional, as if you want it. That's the best way to go in order to preserve the indigenous people's identities, prevent the death of their languages, give them freedom to appreciate and nurture their culture, because language is their culture. Everybody's language is their culture. That's the best thing to do than banning these languages and introducing foreign English language. Even when you go to Europe, the Germans speak German language. In Spain, they speak Spanish language. In France, they speak French language. Every nation in Western Europe speaks their own language. Nobody speaks English. Why should then the Nigerian government in this 21st century consider it the right policy to stop, to ban the use of our local languages as a means of teaching our own children? See, the problem we have in Nigeria is wrong policy. Making of wrong policy is the problem we have in Nigeria. A wrong policy such as this ban on local languages is one of the problems we have, as well as other policies like not having seaports and not having international airports and seaports in the eastern region of Nigeria, not giving every region autonomy, and so many others, not giving everybody right to mine their own resources. Why the Zamfara, the gold in Zamfara is being controlled by the Zamfara government, and so many minerals being mined in the north is controlled by the north. Why not make it general? You see, wrong policy is one of the problems we have in Nigeria. And we are encouraging, suggesting to the Nigerian government to stop this ban now. And the British Council that is coming to, the British Council that is coming to introduce this type of, impose their English on our people. Why can't we go to Britain and impose Igbo language on them, impose Hausa language on them, impose Ishikiri language on them, impose Igbo language on them, impose TV language on them? Why can't they speak our own language? That is the question you have to be asking. That's why in this university, we teach you from the Igbo man, the Biafran, and African perspective, how you should be seeing things. You see things from how it concerns you, not how it concerns other cultures. And this is where we shall end the ban on local indigenous languages by the Nigerian government. Now, let us go to the second part of the lecture, which is the Nyesom Wike versus Ahmad Yarima. This confrontation happened on 11/11/2025, where Nyesom Wike and his team were on patrol to stop work order in Abuja. And matters arising from that visit, we want you to know. It showed that Nyesom Wike is actually not in control in Abuja. Nyesom Wike is not in control in Abuja. Because if he's in control, number one, let me not go to number one. Because if he's in control, this former chief of naval staff, Admiral Anwar Zubairu Gambo, retired, he's already retired, who sent that captain, that Ahmad Yarima, to that job site, should have come to Wike's office. You should have come to Wike's office to resolve any issue about that land in Wike's office, to respect his office and respect him as the one that is in total control in Abuja. But he didn't do that. Instead, he continued with his work in defiance, in neglect, in disrespect of the FCT minister, Nyesom Wike. But you know that Wike had been demonstrating how powerful he is by taking over so many lands from individuals and companies in Abuja. So if this retired naval staff, this retired Vice Admiral Anwar Subaru Gambo, know that Wike had been seizing lands, had been taking lands from so many individuals and companies in Abuja, why wouldn't he go to Wike's office to resolve that issue? Which means he doesn't regard Wike as being in total control in Abuja. Another issue, another takeaway, another matters arising from this confrontation is that it is a confusion in a democratic setting. It is a confusion because in democracy, the civilian governor, the civilian administrator, supposed to be the first, supposed to be on top. Every other person takes instructions from him. In this case, Wike is supposed to be number one in Abuja. Everybody's supposed to take order from him. But it's not, it's like a confusion for an army, a captain in the army, to be challenging the FCT minister openly in public like that, without in disregard. Even if it's the retired admiral, it will be a different. This is somebody he said, a captain that is there standing toe to toe with Wike. That shows that it is a confusion in this democratic setting that Nigeria is practicing. It's confusion because if it's not confusion, that Ahmad, that Yarima, will bow to Wike. We do whatever Wike says, but Wike is the man in charge. The Wike is not in charge. That's what it shows. And another revelation from that confrontation is that retired and active security officers are the ones running Nigeria under military democracy. What you actually have in Nigeria is military democracy. That is military democracy. Because you have seen how powerful this admiral is already retired. Oh, he's no longer active. Oh, how he wielded power. Send somebody who is still listening to him retired. Because he's retired, doesn't have no power anymore. But that tells you how powerful that actually we are running in Nigeria what we call in at the Ahmad military in democracy. For the military, people, both the ones that are retired and the ones that are active, are wielding enormous power everywhere. You have had rumors that some of them involved in illegal oil bunkering, illegal minings, and so many illegalities. They are still very powerful there. They are the ones deciding most of things going on. That is why you should know that what we are having in Nigeria is military in democracy. If not, we will be not having any challenge from that captain and the retired vice admiral. But I'll tell you something, that Wike belong to those Igbos who are denying their Igbo-ness. Don't forget that Nyesom Wike belong to those Igbos who are denying their Igbo-ness. You can tell from his name. Nyesom, Nyesom, he changes to Nyesom. Then Wike, Nwike, he changes to Wike. He's still one of those denying their Igbo-ness. Why many who did so under the fear of being killed during the Nigerian Biafran War are now coming out and rejoining the family? Wike have decided to be receiving the crumbs from his master's table and taking full control of his resources. Remember, all the oil and gas from Wike's area, Biafra land, all the states in Wike's land, in Biafra land, are receiving only 13%. Wike is comfortable with 13% instead of 100%. Therefore, the cross is receiving from the master's table. He is contented with it. That is why he has been involved in so many things, like the Obibo massacre of 2020. He was the governor of Rivers State when the people of Hope were massacred in the NSAS protest. The election rigging of 2023, because we all know that APC never won Rivers State. APC never did. It will be won Rivers State, but he did everything, both killing of people and announced APC as the winner in the 2020 election in Rivers State. The declaration of emergency rule that started from March 18, 2025 and ended September 17, 2025. All were instrumental to the power of Nyesom. Nyesom Wike's power is in the home. Ogono. Nyesom Wike's power is the one our people call Ogono. They fight in the home. He knows how to fight in the home. But in Abuja, where they sent him as FCT minister, he's not in full control. That is what that confrontation will show you. And that is what we want to know. His power is only at home, not outside. And then that also explains and supports the assertion made by Mazi Nnamdi Kanu that says, serve the zoo and come back. When you serve the zoo, you come back in share by Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Because that Ahmad Yarima really shamed Wike. Really shamed Wike upon all the security details he has, upon all his charisma. Ahmad Yarima obeyed a retired admiral instead of the active FCT minister. It also demonstrates that Wike's power is limited in Abuja. His power is limited as FCT governor or minister. His power is limited. Talk less of him becoming vice president or president of Nigeria. Can you imagine that? So these are the things we want you to know from Ahmad Wisdom University. And our suggestion to our people is try to work with your people. A tree does not make a forest. When you stand alone, you can easily be defeated. But guys now, and you a million or more. When you have a broom together, that broom can be strong enough to be sweeping, clearing desks. But you have one single stick of that broom come out, it doesn't have no power. That's what Wike is representing. So always be together with your people. Don't deny your people. Work with your people, no matter what it takes. Because this world is not our. Eventually, all of us will leave this world. No matter what you do, it's better you die with your people than dying alone. In conclusion, please like, comment, and share. Join us on YouTube. Press that bell button to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. And we presented to you today two lectures, two in one lectures. One addressing the ban of local languages in Nigerian schools. And the second part of the lecture is we came with Ahmad matters arising from both. And we let you know that the ban on local languages was announced on Wednesday, 11th by the Minister of Education, according to Sahara reporters. The name of that Minister of Education is Dr. Tunji Alausa, who announced the ban on Wednesday during the language in education international conference 2025, organized by the British Council in Abuja. The British Council is the one that organized the conference in which indigenous local languages was banned in schools. And it is highly, highly, highly annoying. Highly, highly, highly annoying. And therefore, the Nigerian government suspended the use of indigenous languages as the medium of teaching in Nigerian schools, directing teachers nationwide to prioritize English as a medium of instruction. English, which is a foreign language. English, which is not ours. And we are saying Nigeria is still under colonial bondage. We are still under colonial bondage where if you speak your language in the school, you will be beaten, you will be suspended, you will be ostracized from the school. When you speak your own language, but you will be allowed to speak a foreign language. That is very, very, very annoying. And then Nigeria cannot develop a foreign colonial language. It cannot. It cannot. So we are advising the government to rescind, to withdraw, to pull down, to reconsider that plan because it is not good. And then suppression of indigenous people's freedom. It will lead to the suppression of indigenous people's freedom to use and exercise their languages, their culture, to educate their people. Your language is your culture. Without your language, nobody knows who you are. Nobody knows where you are. When you start answering your own names and not answering English names, with time, your generation will forget who you are. And then it will also suppress the indigenous people's identities because your language is your identity. And the use of foreign English will lead to the death of many indigenous languages, which is not good because all these indigenous ethnic groups were in Nigeria before the British came, before amalgamation of 1914. We are all there, speaking our language, doing our thing. Why are we changing it in the 21st century? I want to remind Nigeria that Russia started the special military operation in the eastern Donbass region because of the suppression of Russian language by the Ukraine. Also, we have seen and heard President Putin, Sergei Lavrov of Russia, speaking Russian language in international events. Why they are using interpreter to be interpreting to the rest of the world. The same applies to Xi Jinping of China. You know, China speaks Chinese. Modi of India speaks Indian language. Kim Jong-un of North Korea speaks North Korean language. All Arab leaders speak Arabic languages to their people. They don't speak English. And even if you go to this Western Europe, in Germany they speak German language. In Italy they speak Italian language. In France they speak French language. So why then are you forcing us to continue with the colonial English language in our own land? That is wrong. And we have a question. How will this work in northern Nigeria, where you have Sharia law and Arabic education? Because somebody can use Arabic education, without even speaking one English, and be whatever he wants to be. So will that also be banned? Will Arabic education will also be banned in northern Nigeria? And will Sharia law also be banned in northern Nigeria? That's the question that we have. And we are suggesting to the Nigerian government to stop this immediately now and making the local languages, the indigenous languages, compulsory in all schools. It should be number one. Why English should be elective if I want it, selective. That's the way to go. This approach. And then this is where we ended the ban on local languages, indigenous languages. Now, we presented to you Nyesom Wike, Mrs. Ahmad Yarima. What happened? The date of the confrontation was 11/11/2025. Where Nyesom Wike and his team were supposed to stop work order in Abuja. And the matters arising from that confrontation is what we presented to you. That shows that Nyesom Wike is actually not in control control. It's not in control. Wike have been demonstrating how powerful he is by taking over so many lands from individuals and communities. He has shown the FCT minister has taken so many lands. And, you know, for this former, former chief of naval staff, Vice Admiral, this is former, it's not even active, but former chief of naval staff, Vice Admiral Anwar Zubairu Gambori, gave an order to Ahmad Yarima, and he stood his ground like this and his men, irrespective of all the security people and details following Wike, the guy stood his ground. He stood his ground because it's like there's confusion in this democratic setting that we are present in Nigeria. There's confusion there. Because if not, this former chief of naval staff, Vice Admiral Spyro Gambo retired, should have gone to Wike's office and they shut out the problem in Wike's office. As simple as that. But because of the confusion in democracy, because if there's no confusion, Wike should we have his right. The captain will not even say a word. The admiral retired, he's already retired, will not even say a word. And Wike will do what he wants to do and will go back. In a civilian democracy, that is how it's supposed to be. The civilian representative, the civilian leader, in this case, FCT Minister Wike should have the final say. But in this case, he was not. So it is showing that there's confusion in the democratic setting that we can practice. Not only in Nigeria, but in other parts of Africa. It also shows retired and active security officers are the ones running Nigeria under what we call at the military in democracy, or military democracy. As you have had some of them, some of the military officers, both retired and active, involved in illegal oil pumping, mining, and other illegalities, and got getting free. Nobody challenges, and they even decide who is to be in power and who is not supposed to be in power. And we reminded you that this community belongs to those Igbos who are still denying their Igbo-ness. He's still denying his not, even though clearly he's an Igbo. Put in his put in his name, put in his achievements, he's an Igbo. Why many who did so because of the war are now returning back to the Igbo family? They have decided to be receiving the crops from his masters, that full control of his resources. And we reminded you that all the resources from the oil and gas in the eastern region, in the Biafra land, that the states there are getting only 13% instead of 100%. And Wike, in order to satisfy his masters, was involved in the Obio massacre of 2020 in the NSAS protest. Also, the election rigging in River State, in the 2023 election, where everybody know that APC couldn't win that state. But eventually, Wike did everything and announced APC. Also, the declaration of emergency rule in River State from March 18, 2025 to September 17, 2025. All were instrumented to Wike's power. Wike showing power at home. Wike Kanono. Power is more at home than outside. Because if his power is stronger outside, that confrontation wouldn't have occurred. And then it was Mazen and the Kanu who said that when you serve the zoo, you come back in shame. What happened in that place is a shame to this place of Wike. But it shouldn't happen. Because she's supposed to be under control. And we are saying it shows that Wike's power in Abuja is limited. It's actually limited, unless of him becoming the vice president of president. And we are advising everybody to work with your people because a tree does not make a forest. Don't deny your identity. Don't deny who you are. Don't kill your people. Follow the established rule and structure. Don't do things that will hurt the masses in your life. Very, very, very important. And with this, we shall be taking to this lecture. And before, I want to finally ask you again to please like, comment, and share, and subscribe. Join us on YouTube by pressing the bell button so that you get notifications when we present new lectures. Also, go back to our previous lectures and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. And with this, we shall bring it to this lecture. Thank you very much for joining us today and have a very, very wonderful day. Thank you.